my friends, and welcome to our podcast once again, me, Mom, and Dad. It is a hot summer 2022, and we welcome you. We're steadily gaining listeners, and we thank you all for listening. Just a brief intro to any new listeners. How we started this podcast, me, Mom, and Dad. My mom is Gloria, my dad is Harold, and I'm Tia. And we started this podcast because my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's some years ago, and we in his Parkinson's diagnosis, we learned so much. There was tough times and good times with his Parkinson's, but we learned some vital information, and we started sharing it on the podcast, and with the Parkinson's community. But then the podcast turned into a sharing recipes on every episode. So this episode we're going to share, since it's summer and it's so hot everywhere. We're going to share recipes, just a summer pasta salad, like chicken pasta salad. This week we're going to do shrimp pasta salad. So we'll share that and a simple cherry cobbler. Easy cherry cobbler. So we'll share those two recipes, so stay tuned. Also on this podcast, we haven't heard from my mom in a long, long while. So I have I interviewed her and have a recording of her, so you can hear from my mom, Gloria. Those of you who have been listening, you already know that a little over a year ago, we lost my dad, Harold. It wasn't from Parkinson's, but he was 87 years old, and he lived a fruitful life with Parkinson's. That's how this podcast started. We were sharing how he lived a fruitful life. He had his ups and downs, but he didn't pass from Parkinson's. There was other issues that he passed from. And so you'll hear from my mom, and you'll hear from her. You'll love hearing from her. She's uh, still a tough cookie. So you'll hear from her. And on this podcast, we hope you guys are staying cool and keeping your head up. That's part of our podcast too, is to keep joy going. My dad was a reverend, and he always taught us to keep the faith. So we share faith also on this podcast. This pandemic, our country and our world is trying to move away from this COVID-19. And as the analysts and the scientists, the doctors say, we want to move away from COVID, but COVID is not done with us. But, you do see crowds now. Concerts are back. We just witnessed the Queen's Jubilee, 70 years on the throne. As Americans, we love all that royal stuff, and you can see the crowd smiling. So we're learning to live with COVID and how to deal with COVID, and we're happy about that. We're learning to live our lives. My mom and I got vaccinated, and we got our booster and our second booster and a third booster. Man, I think we had 4 boosters. Well, shots anyway, not boosters, but the total of shots. And we're very thankful that we are trying to stay safe. We go into our doctor's offices and other places, and we try to keep our mask on. My dear, dear sister, she got her doctorate degree, and we went up north. We live in Georgia now. We're from up north in Delaware area near Philadelphia. And we went up there, Mom and I. We had a blast like 2-3 weeks ago. And because my sister got her doctorate degree. And, I kept saying, Mom, we're going to wear those masks. We wore them on the plane, but we ended up taking them off. We're just, I'm not bragging about that, but we see people with no mask on, and so we end up taking ours off and not putting it back on. So we're trying to do better at that because COVID's still around a bit, and my mom's 85, and so we want to keep being safe. We had a big party for my sister. We took our mask off, and but we're safe. We're thankful that we are learning to navigate around this pandemic, and people are traveling and going to Europe and other places, and we're going to beat this COVID. We're already beating it, but in some years from now we'll look back and COVID will be gone. So that's how we keep the faith, right? Keep the faith. You'll hear from my mom. She is going to have, she had our knee surgery like right before COVID started, like 2.5 years ago. It was December before it all started, the pandemic. And she had a knee surgery, and her other knee is just like a new knee. And now her other knee is trying to slow her down. So we're going to go sometime in August. She's going to have her second knee done. So why don't we hear from my mom right now? Let's just do it. Here is my mom, Gloria, talking to you guys. Here she is. All right, podcast listeners, you have not heard from Mommy in a while. This podcast is me, Mom and Dad, and here's the mom, Gloria. Say hello to the podcast listeners.
Hello, listeners.
And tell them how you've been doing.
I've been doing good for an 85-year-old lady.
85, looking good. Every time she goes into the doctor's office, they say, "We're looking at your chart and we cannot believe your age." What a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
She's about to have her second knee surgery. And why is that? Because you say you're not going to be in no wheelchair.
I'm not going to be in no wheelchair. And I'm going dancing when I get my knee fixed.
Do it. We're a little over a year of missing our daddy. And been doing good?
I've been doing good.
We see cardinals all around us, close to us sometimes. We feel that's Daddy's spirit watching over us. And
we went up to visit him.
Went up to visit his grave a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
That was great.
And what did we find around Daddy's grave?
We found on top of his grave 2 cardinal feathers.
2 cardinal feathers. And we framed them. It was so awesome, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And you're doing good. You're a trooper. Daddy would want you to live life and keep moving on.
Yep, that's what I'm trying to do.
And that's what you are doing. We're a team, and we love you. Say goodbye to the podcast listeners.
Goodbye, podcast listeners.
See you later.
Talk to you soon.
Peace out. That's my beautiful mommy. I'm so blessed, and she is a young trooper. So pray for us, August. She will have her second knee surgery. So let's talk to the Parkinson's community. I'm always here reminding you guys how my dad lived a fruitful life, just quickly. On previous episodes, I'm always repeating it, is the medication for Parkinson's. At least that's what my dad was on. And most Parkinson's patients are on cortidopa, levodopa. We call it the yellow pill. At least my dad's was yellow. Sometimes you go to the pharmacy and they change the color of your pills. That always trips me out when that happens. But most times the cortidopa, levodopa was a yellow pill. And the key to it, Parkinson's community, is to allow that medication to absorb properly. We gave my dad the yellow pill 2 hours before and after his meals. For example, his first pill was at 5 a.m. in the morning. We gave it to him on an empty stomach. and it absorbed on an empty stomach. And 2 hours after that, he was allowed to have his breakfast. We let his meal absorb for 2 hours. And then after that 2 hours was his second uh, yellow pill. That's how we did it. He was on 3 Parkinson's medications a day. For those of you who don't know, Parkinson's is the brain is not making enough dopamine uh, for in the brain, and the yellow pill puts the dopamine. I'm probably saying it wrong, but you get the message. Back in the brain, and it's vital to Parkinson's patients. This yellow pill was for my dad anyway, but when he first got diagnosed, we didn't know that it needed to absorb that much for him, and he could not walk. We thought we were going to have to get ramps and electronic stair riser things in the house because it was scary. He could not walk at all. And then we figured out through the doctors and the nurses that it needed to absorb. And for my dad, he needed it to absorb 2 hours on an empty stomach. And also exercise along with the medication. He lived a fruitful life. Most of my friends didn't even know he had Parkinson's most days, unless we told them. And so, exercise. He went to the gym big time, and he would ride the bike, the stationary bike, and the treadmill, do some machines, and he did it often. We'd go walking. Previous episodes, he and I are in the park walking. Some listeners have heard that. Exercise is the key. Keep it moving. And Mom and I are learning that while he's in heaven. I learned that I gotta go to the gym too. It's important to keep that body moving, and that's the key to for the Parkinson's community is allow that medication and move. Just if you're not moving now, just go for a little tiny little walk and build it up to 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And that's the key to living a fruitful life with Parkinson's. Uh, I was reading also that caffeine. I read an article. I still read articles, even though my dad's in heaven, about caffeine is good for Parkinson's patients. I did notice that my dad, I'd give him a little bit of coffee. He had high blood pressure real bad too. He was a small guy, but genetically he got some serious high blood pressure from my grandpa, from his father. But anyway, we'd give him some caffeine, some coffee, and I noticed it gave him a little oomph. And so I keep seeing these articles, in Parkinson's articles, how caffeine is good for Parkinson's patients. I just had to watch though. Every time he'd have the caffeine, he'd have a oomph, but then I'd check his blood pressure, and his blood pressure would be up. So if you don't have blood pressure, that's good. That coffee is good for the Parkinson's patients. And so that for him, it was, I had to watch the coffee, the caffeine. It does give him a oomph. Let's dig into our 2 recipes that we're gonna do. Let's do the pasta one. Some of you probably, those of you who cook, you know how to do this, but there are friends of mine out there that are like, Tia, we don't cook. So this might seem easy to some, but I'm gonna break it down real small since it's so hot. We don't want the stove on in the kitchen. We started sharing these recipes because when my dad first got diagnosed, to keep him happy, because one of the symptoms of Parkinson's is depression can seep in. So my brother and my sister and family members and friends would we made a pact that that we would be around my dad more. So my brother would come visit more. And what we do is we're always in the kitchen. Food brings families together, and that's how we started sharing these recipes. And we have some previous episodes where my brother and other family members and friends are on our recordings. Um, that's how we started sharing these recipes because food brings families together. First recipe, pasta salad. I like getting the little squirrely little pasta, box of pasta, but you can use whatever you desire, the macaroni, but the little squirrely little pastas. I don't know the name of them off the top of my head. I don't have the box in front of me. But it's the squirrely little pastas or the little tiny rigatoni type pastas. I like using that. So you boil that up. While that's boiling up, remember to salt your pasta water. Salt your boiling water with a good amount of salt, and boil your pasta. While you're doing that, chop up some onion. You like red onion, scallions, regular. We're down here in Georgia, so Vidalia onion in the summer is big time. They're beautiful and sweet. But to make it look pretty, you want to thinly slice up some red onion, some scallions, chop up some basil. I grow herbs in the summer, so I've got some basil out there. All you do is tear the basil after you rinse it. My mom likes to dice cucumbers. And what else we want to put in there? See, onion. Oh, we love olives in our salads, pasta salads, black olives, green olives. And after your pasta is boiled, just put it in a bowl. Put your onion, tear your basil. I'm even growing some rosemary. Uh, Chop up some rosemary. You can't really ruin it. Uh, let's see. I got the onion, I got the cucumber, and I will go and get rotisserie chicken from the market. We have Publix near us. Get that rotisserie chicken, and I take the breast part, but you could use any parts you like. And slice up some slices of the chicken breast, and it's chicken pasta salad. This week we're going to do shrimp pasta salad. We're going to do the same thing, boil up the pasta, onions, all those beautiful vegetables in there, and we're going to add shrimp to it. So I'm going to saute up some shrimp, or I'll put the shrimp under the broiler, salt and pepper. So you can either do chicken pasta salad, put your chicken in there on top of the pasta. Once it boils, you strain it, salt and pepper, and put your favorite dressings. You might just want some olive oil with salt and pepper. I've been into this ginger dressing that's in the vegetable aisle. Ginger dressings. That's what I'm into these days. But you can take a lemon also, squeeze a lemon in this pasta salad, add just olive oil if that's all you're doing. That was just my speaker shutting off. Um, and there you have either chicken pasta salad or a shrimp pasta salad. And yes, you can saute up some steak if you like. Then slices of steak. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Pasta salad. Now, summertime, I don't know. We like peach cobblers and all kind of cobblers. I'm doing a cherry cobbler. So you go in the baking aisle and you get cans of cherries. Get some cherries, the can, and I just do one can. You could do two cans in the 8x8 type of casserole dish. And you get your can and pour your cherries in a bowl. I do add a little bit of sugar to the cherry mixture from the can. It is sweet already, but I'll do a little bit of sugar. And I'll put some vanilla in there. We made our own vanilla 2 months ago. Vanilla is you take vodka, pour it in a bottle, go get to the dollar store and get a bottle, and you pour the vodka in there, and you need a vanilla bean, and you slice that vanilla bean open, and you put the vanilla beans in the vodka and let it sit for months, and it'll get dark, dark, dark. That's the vanilla we have now. So you put your vanilla in this cherry mixture. Spray your pan, casserole pan, with some pan spray, and I put already already made Pillsbury crust on the bottom of the pan and make it pretty, but it can look rustic. Sometimes I do crust, sometimes I don't, but the family like a crust on the bottom. You don't have to put a crust on the bottom. So pour your cherry mixture on top of the crust. Okay, the vanilla, a little bit of sugar. And then what I've been doing lately, sometimes I do a brown sugar crumbly, but I've been doing this cake mix crumble, and I'm loving it these days. So you take your cake mix, just yellow cake mix box, pour it on top of the cherry mixture. Then you're going to melt like half a stick of butter, really a whole stick, but half a stick if you're being healthy, healthy. Melt that butter. You pour the butter on top of this cake mixture and put it in the oven on 350. Bake for like 30 minutes. So good. Let the top get brown. There's something with that cake mixture. You've probably seen these TikTok videos on this. Uh, and it's so good, guys. The cake mixture, just the salt and the savory. That's your peach cobbler. I mean, your cherry cobbler. You can do peach, do any kind of fruits with this cake mixture. Same thing. Put the bottom crust. Put your peaches and put some vanilla in the peaches, and pour that cake mix on top of the whatever fruit you're using. I'm into cherry these days. The cake mix seems to really dig into the cherry mixture. My mom doesn't care for the cherry, so I have done peach. You can do uh, apple. It's delicious. As I said before, we have done all my life. We've done the brown sugar mixture, but I'm into this cake mixy one. So good, guys. Bake it 350. You're done. Summer recipes. While you're listening, please subscribe to our podcast. We've been doing it a few years now, and we're building listeners. Subscribe to this podcast. When you're listening to this podcast, up the top, you see like a Wi-Fi looking icon. If you click that, that's where you subscribe, I believe. And thank you. Please subscribe to our podcast, and that a notification will come to you every time we do a newer podcast. And so remember, keep the faith. Since my dad is looking down from heaven on us, the things he taught me about faith, he'd say, T, I'd say, Daddy, what about this? He said, T, you need to get out the Lord's way. Get out the Lord's way. And I'm like, get out the Lord. Am I in the Lord's way? Yes. So keep the faith, my friends. Keep the faith, keep the laughter, keep the cooking. And please subscribe to this podcast. And stay cool. It's hot. It's hot out there. Remember to keep moving. Exercise, 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 exercise is the key. I'm talking to myself too. Keep listening. Thank you, my friends. Please enjoy the music. Until the next podcast, peace out.